If there's a prize for the most smashed up fence in Texas, I bet my house would win it. And it's all because of one mean HOA lady named Susan Harper. Picture her with a grumpy face all the time, driving a huge, gas-guzzling SUV that's as big as a tank, treating my yard like it's her personal road for her super important 3-minute shortcut. It all started with just a few broken fence pieces. You know, as gentle as a super heavy car can be when it's turning your grass into a racetrack. But oh boy, did it turn into this crazy story full of car crashes, lies, and a court case that would make your mouth drop open when Susan's mean streak ran straight into my final plan that wouldn't budge. What happened next was like something from a movie, so get ready. Because this isn't just a scary HOA story, it's a fight between two stubborn people that'll make you pick who you think should win. 2 years ago, I thought I'd found my perfect house dream in Willow Creek, a nice quiet neighborhood with lots of trees. My house sat at the end of a dead-end street, which was perfect except for one weird thing. The way the street was set up made drivers from the main road want to cut across my side yard to avoid making a U-turn. I timed it. 2 minutes and 47. Seconds saved if you drove really fast. My yard had this cute 4-foot-tall wooden fence with pointy tops, more pretty than strong, made to keep out wandering cats, not rude neighbors. That's when Susan showed up in the story. She lived a few blocks away, not even on my street, but since she was the vice president of the HOA, she acted like the boss of everything, paint colors and how tall your grass could be. Her shiny silver SUV was like her royal carriage, and her face always looked like she just smelled something really gross. The first time it happened wasn't too bad, just a couple of crooked fence pieces, one cracked, and some faint tire marks in my grass. I figured some teenager messed up while turning, so I got my hammer and fixed it. That's just normal neighborhood life, right? A week later, a whole section was leaning over, 2 fence pieces were completely broken, and the tire tracks were deeper and looked like someone did it on purpose. My neighbor, Mr. Thompson, an old guy who loves roses, saw me looking at the damage. "That's Susan again," he said while puffing on his pipe. "I saw her silver monster take that turn like it's her own driveway." I'd met Susan at HOA meetings, where she'd complain about mailbox colors or someone's messy bushes, talking like the rules were for regular people, not her. I decided to try talking to her about it. That Saturday, I went to her house and rang the doorbell. She answered wearing perfect workout clothes that had never actually been sweated in, with her lips all pinched up like I'd interrupted something really important. "Hi, Susan. I'm Tom from Elm Street," I said, trying to be nice but serious. Her eyes showed she had no idea who I was. "The one with the bird bath," she said in a really snotty way. "For the record, it's a nice fountain. It's about my fence," I kept going. "It's been hit twice, and Mr. Thompson thinks it might be your SUV. Her look got really mean. "Are you saying I did it?" "Just trying to figure it out," I said. "The tire tracks look like they came from a big SUV. She made this snorting sound like a fancy purse losing air. "My car has the best sensors. I'd never hit a fence. Maybe build a stronger one or move it away from the road. My fence was 3 feet inside my property line. "Driving across my yard to save a few seconds isn't okay," I said. Her fake smile disappeared. "Take it to the HOA." The door slammed shut. Being polite was over. Time to get smart about this. I fixed the fence with stronger screws and posts that went deeper into the ground, then put up a hidden security camera under the edge of my roof, pointed at that corner. If Susan wanted to lie, I'd have proof. 3 days later, the video was perfect. Her silver SUV, impossible to mistake, swerving over the curb, driving through my grass, and smashing the fence with pieces flying everywhere. She didn't even slow down. This wasn't an accident. It was her showing off that she could do whatever she wanted. My anger was boiling. This was being a bully on super steroids. I saved the video, fixed the fence, and emailed the HOA with the video clip, nicely asking them to talk to Susan about her driving. I sent Susan a copy too, just to be fair. Her reply came back right away. She said the video was unclear and fake, and that I was bothering her. The HOA's answer was really weak. "This is a private fight. You should try mediation. Mediation with someone who denied clear proof." I was in some kind of joke. The hits kept happening every week like some twisted game. A little bump here, a totally destroyed section there. I wrote down every broken piece, every tire track, my camera collection turning into a museum of Susan's showing off. Each time I fixed it, I used tougher materials, testing how far she'd go. Nothing stopped her. The fence was like her mountain. To climb, a challenge to her being the boss. The HOA was useless, suggesting I plant spiky bushes to stop a 2-ton SUV driven by a woman as focused as a missile. They were scared of Susan, who had once threatened to sue the board just for questioning. Her war against a neighbor's doormat. Mr. Thompson felt bad for me but told me to give up. She's like a bulldozer, Tom. Some fights aren't worth it. But I'm a civil engineer, and Susan had picked the wrong person to mess with. This wasn't just about a fence. It was about what's right and wrong. And I'll admit, a spark of getting back at her. Excitement was starting to grow. The idea for my final plan hit me while watching Susan's SUV casually smash into my latest repair. She didn't even look at the damage, eyes focused on her precious saved seconds. What if the fence looked weak but wasn't? What if it had a core of pure, no way? My engineering brain got excited. Wood bends, steel doesn't, especially not to an SUV's plastic bumper. I drew up plans, figuring out how much impact it could take. I needed steel hollow tubes for posts and rails, metal plates for the fence pieces, all disguised to look like my wooden fence. It had to fool Susan even up close. Found a metal shop run by Gus, a tough old craftsman. I showed him my drawings. "This picket fence could stop a tank," he said with a grin. "Got a rhino problem?" "Something like that," I said. "A persistent pest." He told me a high price, but this was about justice. "Paint it to match my pine fence," I told him. "Exactly the same." Gus smiled wide. "Whatever hits this will really feel it." While Gus made my fence, I dug holes for posts 3 feet deep, way too much for a regular picket fence, and poured super strong concrete with metal rebar under Susan's favorite crashing spot. This wasn't a fence, it was a fort. I worked on weekends, keeping it secret. Mr. Thompson watched, amused. "Another fence, Tom?" "This one's convincing," I said. The steel section had to blend with my wooden fence. A 10-foot trap right at the curve Susan always hit. The rest stayed wood. Weak bait. I matched how far apart the fence pieces were, how high the rails were, and the weathered white paint, making the steel look sun-faded. I upgraded my camera to super clear with night vision, adding a second one, for backup. This wasn't a prank. It was a legal, justified trap. Gus delivered the steel, heavy and perfect, fence pieces welded to square tube rails, posts with thick walls. "Send me the video," he said. I promised I would. Setting it up took a tough weekend. I ripped out the beaten-up wooden posts, set the steel in concrete, and bolted the sections with special bolts that couldn't be unscrewed. Stepping back, I was amazed. It looked just like my old fence, innocent and fragile, but those 10 feet were a steel wall. I scratched up the paint, added dirt smudges. It was sneaky rule-following at its best. Now I waited like a hunter tracking an animal. Susan's schedule was like clockwork, 5:30, 6 p.m. corner cutting on her way home from work. On day 3, a Tuesday, I was in my kitchen with cameras streaming on my tablet. At 5:49 p.m., her SUV roared into view, no turn signal as always. My heart beat faster. She hit the curve, tires jumping the curb, aiming for her usual spot. I leaned in, grinning. This was it. The crash wasn't the usual wood-breaking crunch. It was a horrible metal thud, then a grinding screech. The video showed her SUV jerked to a stop, front end crumpling against my fence that didn't move. The fence stood calm, not even a scratch. Susan's head snapped forward, her coffee probably splashing all over the dashboard. Her horn blared like a crying whale. She stumbled out, holding her head, face showing shock and anger. Her SUV's headlight was smashed, bumper hanging down, fender caved in. My fence looked ready for a photo shoot. Susan screamed like a banshee, kicking her tire and probably hurting her foot. Then she grabbed a fence piece and shook it. It didn't budge, anchored in concrete and steel. She looked crazy, walking back and forth and yelling, not noticing neighbors peeking out. Mr. Thompson stood on his porch, grinning, pipe in his mouth. Susan called the police, just like I expected. I called the non-emergency line, too. A driver crashed into my fence. She's upset but not hurt. Officers arrived in 10 minutes, met by a hysterical Susan pointing at her wrecked SUV and my killer fence. I walked out looking like a concerned homeowner. "Officers, is everything okay? I heard a crash." Susan spun around at me. "This is your fault. Your death trap fence." Officer Carter looked at the tire tracks from road to lawn to fence. Officer Lee looked at the SUV suspiciously. "Ma'am," Carter said, "you drove off the road onto private property and hit his fence." Susan shrieked, "He made it stronger. It's a trick." I raised an eyebrow. "It's my fence on my land. Maybe stay off my lawn." Carter turned to me. "Ongoing." "Issue?" "7th hit in months," I said. "I have videos of her SUV doing it. After expensive repairs, I built this section stronger." Susan sputtered. "He admits it. He trapped me." Lee spoke up. "Ma'am, you hit a solid object off the roadway. Homeowners can build strong fences. Looks normal to me." "Good solid work, sir." I hid a smile. "Thank you." Susan demanded they arrest me for fence crimes. The officers explained she was at fault, giving her a reckless driving ticket. Her SUV was towed away, a crumpled trophy. "Mr. Thompson gave me a sneaky thumbs up. Victory tasted sweet, but Susan wasn't done. A week later, I got papers saying she was suing me. Damages to her SUV, a hidden danger, and emotional pain. I laughed. This was better than I'd hoped. My insurance gave me Carol, a smart adjuster. "She hit your fence repeatedly. You made it. Stronger, she crashed, and now she's suing?" "Wow," I said. Carol chuckled. "We'll give you a lawyer. This is bold." My attorney, Ms. Kessler, loved my evidence. Hours of Susan's SUV smashing my fence, repair receipts, the crash video, the police report, and Mr. Thompson's written statement about her shortcut habit. "She needs to learn humility," she declared. Susan's lawyer, a greasy optimist, claimed I'd tricked her with a disguised steel trap, failing my duty to keep my fence breakable. They painted her as a helpless driver surprised by my mean barrier, traumatized by her towed SUV. Our defense was rock solid. I could build any fence on my land, especially after her trespassing and destruction. Kessler couldn't wait to question. "Susan, she'll fall apart," she predicted. The judge decided on a summary judgment hearing given the evidence. Susan arrived in a serious blazer, her lawyer oozing fake confidence. Kessler was cool steel. Susan's lawyer told a story of my dangerous fence obsession. Kessler fought back with a video show, Susan's SUV shredding my wooden fence, clip after clip. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman, watched stone-faced. Then the crash. In slow motion, tire tracks clear, fence unmoved. "Your Honor," Kessler said, "Mrs. Harper trespassed and damaged my client's property for months. After failed talks and repairs, he built a legal, strong fence. The only danger was her reckless driving." She showed the police report, Thompson's statement, and receipts. Susan's testimony was a meltdown. "Did you know you were driving onto his property?" Kessler asked. "I veered slightly," Susan sniffed. "The road's tricky." "Tricky enough to hit? The same spot weekly for months?" Kessler pointed to the video. Susan squirmed. "The video is misleading." "Is that not your SUV?" "Yes, but he shouldn't have a fence there." The judge's eyebrow shot up. "So homeowners should clear your path across their lawns?" Kessler pressed. "It was a shortcut?" Susan snapped. "He put up a metal trap. A legal fence you drove into." Susan gaped, her lawyer sinking. The judge cut in. "Mrs. Harper, you repeatedly trespassed and damaged his fence. This time it didn't break. Why is he responsible?" Susan stammered. "He changed it without telling." "Me?" The courtroom went silent. Her lawyer cringed. The judge said, "The claim that the defendant created a danger by building a sturdy fence on his property where you trespassed is baseless. The idea he owed you a breakable fence is ridiculous." My heart jumped. The plaintiff's case is dismissed with prejudice. Given her prior damages and the defendant's restraint, I'll consider a countersuit. Kessler pounced. Your Honor, we seek $900 for prior repairs and court costs. The judge reviewed the evidence and granted it. Mrs. Harper, pay $900 plus costs and find a new route. Driving over lawns is frowned upon. The gavel banged, music to my ears. Susan got a reckless driving, fine and points on her license. Her insurance refused her claim, leaving her to pay for the SUV's repair bill. She stopped cutting the corner, driving like a saint near my house. My fortress fence stood untouched, a local legend. Mr. Thompson told stories. Tom built a fence of pure grit, and Susan smashed into it. Bam! The HOA sent a weak apology for their lack of action, their fear of Susan shattered by her defeat. Her board influence crashed. My yard was peaceful. No more repairs, just the glow of a bully humbled. I pat those steel fence pieces sometimes, worth every penny for Susan's crumpled SUV and courtroom smackdown. If a neighbor's making your life terrible, take a lesson from Willow Creek. A clever legal defense disguised as a humble picket fence can stop even the worst Karen. Share your stories below. Have you faced a Susan? How do you fight back?